We'll talk about Angola and the 6 months in on the seat, the Kenyan Central Bank, in about a few minutes. Stick around for that story. Very interesting story about Njoroge. But let's talk about the climate change talk now, entering an overdrive that is now extended till Saturday. The United Nations climate talks entering to their originally scheduled final day, with envoys divided from 195 countries over the obligations placed on rich and poor countries, how to spark deeper cuts in fossil fuel pollution, and what their long-term goals should be. The delegates from almost 200 nations around the world negotiated into the early hours of the morning after working through most of the Thursday night. They're trying to narrow their options in the text of the agreement that range from the amount of global warming the world should tolerate to how countries should review their efforts to reduce greenhouse gases. A final draft agreement has been delayed until Saturday, and that will be delivered by the host country, France. Meanwhile, China's smog, the country is to receive $300 million, that's about 200 million pounds loan from the Asian Development Bank, or the ADB, to help China combat dangerous pollution levels in Beijing city and its surrounding area. The ADB said that poor air quality has reached such a serious level that it was jeopardizing health and sustainable growth. The loan is intended to cut the region's coal use, among other pollution issues. China is the world's biggest polluter. The loan will target Beijing and surrounding areas, including Hebei and Tianjin. The region is home to more than 100 million people and accounts for 10% of China's gross domestic product. More stories ahead. Of the December 20 parliamentary elections, Spain's ruling People's Party is trying to capitalize on data indicating signs of economic growth. But with a jobless rate above 20%, people say they are not feeling the benefits.
Villanueva de la Torre, a dormitory down just 50 kilometers from the Spanish capital, Madrid, tells the story of Spain's boom and subsequent burst. The town quickly sprung up in the good years when credit was easy, attracting 7,000 people and earning its place as the most mortgaged town in Spain, with 87% of homes bought on credit. But in 2008, when the real estate bubble burst, what was a dream for many families turned into a nightmare as town residents, mostly working in construction and related businesses, began losing their jobs and then their homes. Spain's economy only returned to growth in the second half of 2013, but persistently high joblessness, which now stands at 21%, according to the third trimester figures of the October 2015 National Institute of Statistics survey, means many are not yet feeling the recovery. In Villanueva de la Torre, 54 families are currently facing eviction orders. 59-year-old Luis Martinez and his 58-year-old wife Angela Sotes, who is undergoing cancer treatment, have been living in Villanueva de la Torre for 16 years. They owned a plumbing and heating company which was doing well, and rented out a warehouse they bought by remortgaging their home to construction companies in the area. But when business took a bad turn in 2008, their clients stopped paying them, and in turn, they started having difficulty paying their own bills. The warehouse has been repossessed, but through negotiations with the bank and the help of anti-eviction activist group, PAH, they have managed to stay in their home. The bank has agreed to grant them social rent, which means they can stay in the property as long as they pay a reduced rent of $240 a month to the bank. Martinez knows that this is a temporary fix, but for the time being, the arrangement is a relief.
I know that in the end, they will take everything, because they will take everything. But for the time being, we will try to stay here. I will pay the rent for my own home, and that means the world to me. To get this arrangement is like winning the lottery.
Meanwhile, 47-year-old Luciano Basto has also been served an eviction order, which he is fighting in court, and he is also trying to organize a social rent agreement. His problems began in 2013 when his partner lost his job and his wine and gourmet food business went bankrupt.
Africa's second largest oil producer, Angola, is facing a shortage of US dollars as oil revenue declines and foreign banks cut supply of the greenback to the local banks. For a country that depends highly on imports, the situation is taking its toll on the population, where poverty is still prevalent despite its oil riches.
Asena used to sell fruit from Namibia at a busy market in downtown Luanda, Angola's capital. Now she can't afford to travel, money is scarce, and she has to try and sell more expensive locally grown fruit. But the buyers are having a hard time of their own.
Business is not going well. The economy is down. Customers don't buy nowadays, they don't want to spend. We buy boxes of mangoes for 3,500 kwanzas. Eventually we make only 300 kwanzas. It is very difficult for us.
Angola's central bank has restricted dollar sales as foreign exchange supplies dry up due to a fall in global oil prices this year, prompting a sharp decline in kwanza currency and ramping up costs in a country that relies on import for 80% of consumer goods. The kwanza is trading at 170 against the dollar on the street, compared to 109 officially.
We couldn't just stop abruptly. We were decreasing our acquisitions abroad. In the first quarter, we sold 45% fewer US dollar bills compared to the same period in 2014. There was a substantial reduction in the circulation of US dollar bills in our market. That is also due to the fall in oil prices. Therefore, we are increasingly unable to avail dollars to our customers.
Oil accounts for around half of the country's GDP, 80% of tax revenues, and 90% of export earnings. Angola's kwanza has weakened around 30% officially this year and far more on the parallel market as subdued oil prices hit Africa's second largest crude exporter. Angola's central bank said in November that it would reduce the delivery of banknotes in foreign currency to travelers, as well as limit withdrawals from foreign currency accounts as it sought to stem the kwanza slide. There are also rumors that U.S. financial institutions are avoiding correspondence with Angolan banks.
The fact that American banks would avoid being bank correspondents of their Angolan counterparts would really harm Angolan transactions in US dollars, and there, yes, Angola could be a lot more affected in this crisis. Because if we don't make US dollar transactions, when most of these transactions are in US currency, there will be more serious consequences to the economy. Now, this detail of banks ending supply of US dollars to Angola's bank doesn't seem to me like it will have a major impact to the economy, besides further devaluating of the kwanza in the black market. But this devaluation is excessive and there is no justification for it.